Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep into 2024 today.
Ooh, 2024.
It was a year, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah. Lots to unpack.
It felt like a movie script, honestly, with some of the stuff that happened.
Absolutely, yeah.
Major global shifts, the kind that make you, rethink things.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to uncover some of the hidden connections, the surprises that you won't find in your typical year-end review.
Yeah, because it's not just about what happened, right? It's about what it all means.
Exactly.
What it means going forward.
Okay, so let's kick things off with, something that really shook things up.
Okay.
Donald Trump back in the White House.
Mm.
I gotta admit, I was surprised to
Yeah.
see him back, but even more surprising were some of the policies he proposed right out of the gate.
Right.
New tariffs, stricter immigration policies.
Yep.
What's the story there? Was this just a play for his base, or is there something more to it?
Well, I think, what's fascinating is that it taps into this global trend, this rejection of the establishment
Oh, interesting.
and desire for radical change. It's not unique to the U.S., right? We're seeing it in Europe,
Yeah.
other parts of the world. And as for his policies, well, they could create ripples across the entire global economy.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Tariffs on, say, electronics.
Yeah.
I mean, that could impact, the prices of everything.
Wow.
It could even affect the availability of certain goods.
Okay, so this is not just political theater. There are real economic consequences here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we also have to look at this in the context of, global power dynamics.
Okay.
A lot of experts are talking about a shift, right, away from a U.S.-dominated world order.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump's policies, particularly his protectionist stance,
Right.
could actually accelerate that shift.
Interesting. So Trump's return isn't just about American politics. It's a symptom of something much larger.
I think so, yeah.
And speaking of shifts in the political landscape, Europe had its own share of drama in 2024.
Oh, for sure.
Germany's political scene seems to be in constant flux. Right.
And now the U.K. has a Labour government?
Interesting.
What's going on over there?
I think it's fascinating to see how these events kind of connect.
Yeah.
Because while the reasons are complex, right,
Mm-hmm.
and specific to each country, there is this underlying theme of uncertainty, I think.
Okay.
This search for new directions.
Yeah.
And, the rise of populism, economic anxieties, these are all playing a role, much like what we're seeing in the U.S.
So it's like this wave of populism is sweeping across the globe, and it's shaking up the old order.
Yeah.
What does this mean for institutions like the European Union?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? It's too early to tell
Right.
what the long-term impact will be.
Yeah.
I mean, we could see further integration, maybe even a strengthening of the EU,
Right?
or we could see more fragmentation and a rise of nationalist movement.
Okay, so a lot of unknowns there.
Yeah.
And then there's Asia, which was a real roller coaster ride this year.
South Korea, they declared martial law and impeached their president, Yoon Suk-yeol. I mean, that's pretty intense.
Yeah.
And then you have Bangladesh, where Nobel Peace Prize winner Muhammad Yunus became the interim leader after mass protests.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, Asia's a region of just dynamic change.
Yeah.
And these events underscore, really, the complex geopolitical forces at play.
Okay.
South Korea's situation could have major implications for regional stability, especially with North Korea always looming in the background.
Right.
And the situation of Bangladesh,
Yeah.
well, it shows how economic inequality and dissatisfaction with, the political elite can lead to these dramatic shifts in power.
I see what you mean. It's like the old systems aren't working for people anymore.
Right.
And they're demanding something different.
Yeah.
This theme of demanding change seems to be popping up everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
It's like a global pattern, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just limited to the political realm either. We're seeing it in the economic sphere as well.
Yeah, you're right. Even closer to home, here in North America, Canada's finance minister resigned.
Yeah.
On the surface, it seemed like, just another political shakeup.
Right.
But what was the real story there?
Well, what's interesting is that the resignation really revealed these underlying economic tensions within Canada.
Okay.
It was a bit of a wake-up call,
Yeah.
pointing to this deeper issue, this growing gap between the rich and the poor,
Right.
anxieties about the future of the economy. And this isn't unique to Canada either.
Right.
These are issues that many countries around the world are grappling with.
So even in seemingly stable countries, there are cracks in the foundation.
I think so.
And this brings us to something that could potentially reshape the entire global economic system.
Right.
the BRICS nations
Hmm.
and their push for de-dollarization.
Yeah, big one.
You have to admit that the idea of challenging the U.S. dollar's dominance is a pretty bold move.
It is.
Is this a serious threat to the dollar?
Well, the BRICS push for de-dollarization is significant.
Okay.
To really understand it, I think we need to grasp what it means to be a reserve currency.
Yep.
The U.S. dollar has held that position for decades.
Right.
It means it's used for most international transactions, right?
Mhm.
But countries like Russia, China, they're advocating for a shift away from this dollar-centric system.
I see.
Yeah.
But what's motivating this move? Is it purely about economic power, or are there deeper geopolitical factors at play?
It's a mix, I think. On one hand, countries like China and India, they're seeing their economic clout grow,
Yeah.
and they want a financial system that reflects that newfound influence.
Right.
But then, on the other hand, there's definitely a geopolitical element to this.
Okay.
Russia, in particular, sees de-dollarization as a way to weaken U.S. influence, create a more multipolar world.
Now, hold on. Can you explain what you mean by multipolar world? It sounds pretty complex.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
A multipolar world is basically a system where power is distributed among several major players, rather than being concentrated in one dominant nation.
Okay.
Think of it like a shift from a solo act to an ensemble cast
Yeah.
on the global stage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In this scenario, no single country dictates the rules of the game.
So it's like moving from a world dominated by the U.S. to one where power is shared among several major players,
Exactly.
like the BRICS nations.
Right, and that shift has major implications
Yeah.
for how countries interact, how they negotiate trade deals, even how they address global challenges like climate change.
Wow. And how does Donald Trump factor into all of this? I mean, he didn't seem too pleased with the idea of ditching the dollar.
No, he did not.
Remember when he threatened tariffs on countries that participated in de-dollarization? I mean, that sounded a lot like a declaration of economic war.
It did, didn't it? Well, I think Trump's reaction to de-dollarization is a prime example of how economic issues are really intertwined with geopolitics. His threat of tariffs is a tactic to maintain the dollar's supremacy, preserve U.S. economic and political leverage.
Right.
And this push and pull between established powers like the U.S., right, and these rising economies like the BRICS bloc.
Yeah.
What's one of the defining narratives of our time, really?
It's like a high-stakes poker game with the fate of the global economy hanging in the balance.
You could say that, yeah.
And speaking of high stakes, let's talk about the conflicts that continued to rage in 2024.
Okay.
The war in Ukraine shows no signs of abating,
Yeah.
and the way Ukraine is using drones has really caught everyone's attention.
Oh, yeah.
It's like something out of a sci-fi film.
It is, yeah.
What does this tell us about the future of warfare?
Well, I think the conflict in Ukraine is a stark illustration of how technology is changing the nature of war. Drones are becoming increasingly sophisticated, they're cheaper to produce, and much easier to deploy.
Right.
This has leveled the playing field in many ways,
I see.
allowing smaller nations like Ukraine to mount a formidable defense against much larger adversaries.
So it's not just about tanks and missiles anymore.
No.
It's about who has the most advanced technology.
That's a key takeaway. Yeah, and the implications go beyond the battlefield.
Oh, okay.
Drone warfare raises all sorts of ethical and legal questions,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to civilian casualties, accountability, those kinds of things.
It's definitely a game changer.
It is.
And while the world was focused on Ukraine, another conflict escalated in 2024. The Israel-Hamas conflict.
Right.
The situation in Gaza was particularly heart-wrenching.
It was, yeah.
A stark reminder of the human cost of these conflicts.
Absolutely. And you're right to highlight that these conflicts, while geographically distant, they're deeply interwoven with the global landscape. They disrupt supply chains.
Right.
They fuel this energy price volatility. They create a climate of uncertainty that reverberates around the world.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we live in an interconnected world where events in one region can have a profound impact on others.
That's a domino effect, with each conflict adding to the global instability. Exactly. And this brings us to another key theme of 2024.
Okay.
This tension between global interconnectedness and this rising nationalism. On one hand, we see countries collaborating, right, on issues like climate change, trade. But on the other hand, we see a rise in nationalist sentiments, protectionist policies.
Yeah.
This duality, I think, will continue to shape the global landscape for years to come.
It's a fascinating and complex time to be alive.
It is.
That's for sure. But before we get too bogged down in all the doom and gloom,
Yeah.
let's talk about something a bit more uplifting.
Yep.
The remarkable advancements in technology that happened this year. 2024 saw breakthroughs in artificial intelligence and green technology.
Yeah.
Two fields that hold immense potential to solve some of the world's biggest problems.
Absolutely. The pace of innovation in those fields is remarkable.
It is.
We're seeing breakthroughs in everything, from AI-powered healthcare to renewable energy solutions that could revolutionize how we power our homes and cities.
And it seems like the competition between the U.S. and China in these areas is really heating up.
Oh, it is.
What are the implications of this technological rivalry?
Well, this competition is about more than just bragging rights.
Okay.
It's about economic and geopolitical dominance in the 21st century. Whoever controls the most advanced technologies will have a significant advantage in shaping the future.
It's like a new space race, but with AI and green tech instead of rockets.
Exactly.
What should we be paying attention to in these fields?
Well,
what are the key trends to watch?
Keep an eye on advancements in artificial intelligence, particularly in areas like machine learning and natural language processing.
Okay.
These technologies have the potential to transform everything.
Wow.
From healthcare and transportation to education and entertainment.
So AI is set to become even more integrated into our lives.
Precisely. And in the realm of green technology.
Yeah.
Watch for breakthroughs in renewable energy, energy storage, and sustainable materials. These innovations will be crucial in addressing climate change and creating a more sustainable future.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a technological revolution that could reshape our world in profound ways.
Okay.
But amidst all this excitement, there's also this growing sense of unease about the potential downsides of these technologies.
Right.
What are some of the ethical considerations we need to be thinking about?
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
As these technologies advance, we need to be mindful of their potential impact on jobs, on privacy, even the very fabric of society. We need to ensure that these technologies are developed and deployed responsibly with careful consideration of their ethical and societal implications.
It's like we're standing at a crossroads.
I think so.
These technologies have the potential to solve some of humanity's greatest challenges, but they also pose significant risks if not managed responsibly.
That's a great way to put it. And navigating this complex landscape requires informed citizens, robust public discourse, and thoughtful regulation.
Well, you've certainly given us a lot to think about. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into 2024, from political upheavals and economic shifts to technological breakthroughs and escalating conflicts. And it seems like the theme of change, both positive and challenging, is the thread that connects it all.
You've hit the nail on the head. Change is the one constant in our world today.
Yeah.
And understanding the forces driving it is crucial for navigating the complexities of our time.
And speaking of change, one of the biggest changes we saw in 2024 was the growing awareness of the climate crisis. We saw record-breaking weather events, but also a growing momentum for global climate action. Like, the world is finally waking up to the urgency of this issue.
Hopefully.
But the question is, will it be enough?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
We're at a critical juncture, I think.
Yeah.
The choices we make in the next few years will determine the fate of our planet. The good news is there's a growing sense of agency, I think, and a willingness to act.
So there's hope on the horizon.
Absolutely. But we need to translate that hope into concrete action.
Well, we've covered a lot of heavy topics here in part one of our deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
But before we move on to part two, I want to leave you with something to ponder. If 2024 was the year of awakening, what will 2025 be the year of? Will it be the year of action? The year of transformation?
Right.
Or will it be another year of missed opportunities?
Yeah.
Stay tuned for part two, where we'll delve deeper into the trends and events that are shaping our world.
You know, it's interesting you frame it that way. 2024 as a year of awakening. Because I think what we're seeing now is this sort of global reckoning. We're being forced to confront some hard truths about our political and economic systems, our relationship with technology, our impact on the planet. And that reckoning is creating this energy, this drive for change. Whether 2025 becomes the year that change truly takes hold, well, that's the story we're all writing right now.
I like that it's like we're all characters in this unfolding drama.
Yeah.
And the choices we make, both individually and collectively, will determine the next chapter. But okay, enough with the metaphor.